I love it. That's one of my favorites. Very well.
Okay, and I have, just to let you know, my colleague Jasmine Rochelle on the line with me.
That's no problem.
Welcome to the Build On Beauty Podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Thank you for joining me. I have a special guest. She is a trendsetter in the fashion industry. She's the founder of Off and On the Runway, or On and Off the Runway, I should say, and the creator and visionary of the mentorship experience Behind the Runway. Please help me welcome, on the subject of faith and fashion, Miss Joyce Sheffield. Joyce, how are you today?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
It's undeniable that you are a woman of great style. I mean, anybody who has seen the fashion that you carry in the store, the feed on social, I mean, you embody style and fashion. But you're also a woman
God, I love it.
Yes, but you're also a woman of faith, too. And we want to get into your belief in God and your faith and how that's played a role in fashion. But first, let's start from your beginning. What was life like for you as a little girl?
Oh, my God, life for me as a little girl. Many may not know, but I am a country girl. I grew up in Monticello, Arkansas. My mother had 5 children, but she had us in church. And as a little girl, of course, it was a little rough because, of course, my mom was divorced. So she was a single mother. So life for me was I can sum it up. I was a daddy's girl without a father. I was like so many other girls, unfortunately. But God is still God, and my mother introduced me to the best father that I could have ever had, and his name is Jesus. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I'm not trying to be churchy or anything, and so a lot of people think I'm churchy. I'm not churchy. I just have a relationship with God, and I know that He's been my sustainer. And all throughout my childhood, I have to say that my relationship with God has been in the forefront because I know Him for myself. It's not just what my mother taught me. It's not just what my grandmother taught me, but I have a personal relationship with God that has sustained me even in my adulthood. Once I found out who I was in Christ and having a mom who also cultivated the gifts in each of her children, not just with me, but in each of her children, I learned quickly who I was in God.
Well, you grew up in the country then, but then you end up with this mega brand On and Off the Runway. Where did this love for fashion begin?
The love of fashion began for me just watching my mom get dressed every day, not necessarily for work, but for church. My mother was just fashionable to me, not just my mother, but my older sister and a few other women. Actually, at the time, they were my peers. They just had fashion sense, fashion style, and they would put things together that I would have never thought to put together. Like, people thought that we're mixing patterns today, with stripes, with polka dots, et cetera, with different colors and these blends. No, I saw that all while growing up because growing up in Arkansas, we were very limited in our, we didn't have big stores. We had Cato's, we had Walmart. We didn't even have Target, okay? So we had to piece some things together, yet I saw my mom, get dressed for church, and she was fashionable, and I'm like, wow, it was just beautiful to me. And then so I began to do the same just by watching her and others.
You mentioned mixing colors and patterns. We want to tap into that in just a minute, but you talked about not having a lot of resources, so you pretty much were in this place where you had to be creative. So it kind of gave you this need to put stuff together. Did you start to experience this even as a little girl growing up, where you were putting your own outfits together, or did you just put on what mom said to put on?
No, my mom. So it was 3 girls in the house. myself and my younger sister and my older sister. And, of course, my older sister would, I would get on her nerves because I would get her clothes, my sister's clothes, my younger sister's clothes, and would try to put them all together to the point where she had to put a lock on her door so that I could stay out of her room grabbing her clothes. But, yeah, I had to kind of think quickly sometimes. And you know how sometimes you're just wanting to be different. You're not necessarily trying to stand out, but your gifting or your style just pushes you to the forefront. So I would always be noticed, even in school, for the way that I would dress. So I got best dressed. I was homecoming queen. And it was just it was because of the way that I put things together, not knowing or not trying to particularly stand out. I would just like to put pieces together because, again, that's what I saw my mom do, and there was other girls at church that I was inspired by as well.
Wow. So you now have this huge brand that is loved across the country on and off the runway. How did this love for fashion in Arkansas go to this huge brand that now is what it is today?
Oh, my God. To even hear that, gives me goosebumps because, who would have thought? I would have never thought in a million years that we would be impacting or inspiring so many people, and it's an honor. I'm actually humbled that people would even go to my page and look and see it's not really what I've done, but what God has done through On and Off the Runway. So many people don't know, I'm a singer first. That was my first passion. It was the gifting that I will always have and that I will always cherish. I'm a singer. So I sang in different plays all over the world. So I was with Michael Matthews from back in the day, on to Tyler Perry singing in the audience, singing in another play. So when Tyler saw me singing in another play, he came backstage. I didn't audition for him, but I guess that was my audition in the actual play. He came backstage and was just like, Joyce, you want to go on the road with me? And I'm looking at him I looked back are you talking to me? And so, of course, I said yes, and the rest is history. I was Miss Sarah in Meet the Browns, and I said all that to say just traveling all over the globe, I was given the opportunity to see all of these amazing boutiques, from the likes of New York and L.A. and Philadelphia, all of these places that had unique pieces that you wouldn't ordinarily see in a mall setting, but they were different and unique and bold and all the colors and the patterns. And I thought to myself, one day I'll do this. Not knowing how or when or, who was going to teach me. I just started putting together some ideas in my head, but never on paper. And so, of course, once the play world kind of subsided and we were home, I started working a regular job, and I moved from Dallas, Texas to Detroit. And my husband's mother said to me, she was just like, you should just do it. You're always talking about doing it. Why are you afraid? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't want to just start something and then stop it, or maybe it doesn't go the way I want. She was just like, you'll never know if you don't try. And so I just started putting it all together. And wow, 4.5, almost 5 years later, we have On and Off the Runway.
Yes. You mentioned Brother David, who's an awesome man of God. But Mr. Risa Ellis, oh,
yes.
When you talk about style,
yes,
for years, she has been just effortlessly.
She's a total entrepreneur, and she's one of the reasons why I said, you know what, we're women. I have a great mentor in her. How would I have known that I would have come here and that's so important when you link up with the right people in your life, when you link up with the right partners, when you don't just go with what you think that you should go with, which my husband was a God-given, this was all orchestrated by God, because see how Teresa, I didn't know her in that way, but when I moved here, clearly I saw that she was this phenomenal woman. Not only was she saved, but she was fly, and she was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so I gravitated to that, and so she's been teaching me the ins and outs.
Yes, such a blessing. So let's talk about fashion a little bit more. You talked about mixing patterns and colors. Many think that the rules for fashion are out the door. I know back in the day it was like, oh, you don't wear white after Labor Day, or ladies, if you're going to show legs, then don't show cleavage. All of these rules, but we have a lot of people now that are saying all the rules are out the door. Just be your authentic self. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with it. But who made up these rules? They were nice.
Right, that's true.
Right. They were nice, but I think that when people are their authentic selves, meaning everybody has been given style. Some people say, well, they don't have style. No, they do. They have their style. We have our opinion of what style is, and therefore we, it comes across like maybe someone, well, she just has on jeans and a top, and that's just how she dresses every day. And somebody may be a little bit more outright with it, like she's living out loud with her style. But I believe that everybody was given style. I was just saying to Jasmine before we got on the line that white after Labor Day, why again? Because white is just white, but there's other colors that I would particularly not wear, before I would have chosen white. But I think that, yes, everybody living or dressing, expressing their own style, I believe is a must. I mean, I think that it would be quite boring to see everybody with the same look or even with the same trends. I'm always behind the trend. I'm never, with the trend. I'll probably think of it like, oh, yeah, let me wear that. Oh, they did this 5 years ago. I guess I just don't keep up with it all. I just try to be myself.
Now, speaking of faith and fashion, what role did faith play when it came to birthing this on and off the Runway brand?
Faith played 100%, quite a bit, because I was scared. I'm still scared. So I have to pull on my faith and have faith in God that He's given me the gifts that He's given me. Every day I wake up, I'm afraid. I'm not afraid in the sense that I can't do this, but I'm very shy. Most people won't realize that because they're like, well, you're a singer. Well, you're always in the front. And that's another thing. I hate being in the front. If I could just have models, I would, and I did before. But to go back to your question, faith is, if we don't have faith, it goes back to the Bible verse where we're not pleasing God because we're not trusting Him. And so every day I'm like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing all the way, but you're my guide. You're my compass. He has to maneuver me through this process because I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. I depend on God for everything. And people say, well, you depend on God for putting this look together? Yes, because for my audience, that's what keeps them coming back. So I have to remain consistent with what I'm putting together, how I'm putting it together, not just throwing it on, but just actually saying, okay, are we just going to wear this or are we going to rock this? Are you going to believe what you have on so that other people can believe it? So I find people buying total outfits. So if I have on whatever I'm displaying on my page, they want it from head to toe. They don't want just the pants or the top. They want what I'm giving them. And so a part of that with my faith is like, Lord, I'm depending on you to help me to be consistent, to help me to show up, to help me not to say, oh, today I don't feel like doing this, so I'm going to quit. Or I didn't get this many likes on this outfit, so I'm going to quit. I have to know that what I'm doing is not just fashion, but it's really a ministry to most people, which is why I've added my faith out loud on my post. So anybody that comes to my page, they should know who I serve.
Absolutely. Do you have any pet peeves as it pertains to fashion?
Oh, honey, yes. I do not like panty lines. I do not like panty lines or things that you can see the line. No. That's not. It's supposed to be worn under your clothes, not seen on top of your clothes. We have to be sure to be modest, I kind of push the envelope a little bit, but you want to be modest in everything. If things are too tight, it looks too tight. You know what I'm saying? I think there's some things that if you have curves, there's some things that can be form-fitting and look great and classic. But when you push the envelope too far and it just looks too tight and trashy, then that's what you're going to, you know what I'm saying, the kind of attention you're going to receive. I like classic pieces. I like things that I can rock down or rock up. I always say you can't just wear it, you have to rock it. And that's our motto at On and Off the Runway. Don't just wear things, because if you're just wearing it, it's just like you just put on a curtain. But I can wrap a curtain around me and see if I can't rock it.
Right.
I'm going to rock it.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And that's where the confidence comes in. And it's not my confidence. It's really the God confidence that I have.
Absolutely. Now, I know you focus a lot on women's fashion, but what are your thoughts when it comes to men's fashion? Are there things we should and should not be doing?
I don't really know, because see, my husband, I believe that my husband dresses well. He has a sense of style. So I'm just a very classic girl when it comes to men and style and what they decide to wear. And I need to do a little bit more homework on that part of it. My friend Rodney Howell, I don't know if you know him. He has the RodneyHowellCollection.com. He is a great dresser. But I do think that the tight pants and the high waters, let me just say this. Everything is not for everybody, just like all leggings are not for all women's body types. So that means that you have to dress your body type.
And you mentioned them leggings. We're going to move on with them leggings, because some of them, they look almost sheer. I said, those stockings, them ain't leggings. Some of the ladies, you can see the skin tone between it. So those sheep leggings.
Those are called sheep leggings.
Okay.
Inexpensive.
I said,
and most of the time they're to be worn under your pants or under something, not to be seen. Because sometimes I do look and see, wow, people are real confident, because they don't see that you can see your underwear under them. You can see, like you said, their flesh tone. Yeah, everything is just not for everyone, and that goes for women and men.
Now let's talk about this new experience you're birthing. It's a mentorship experience. And we have your business partner, Jasmine Rochelle, on the line. It's called Behind the Runway. Tell us about this event.
Well, I'm really thinking about, of course, On and Off the Runway. It's a spin-off of On and Off the Runway. More so the business piece is the on the runway, but a lot of times women and just entrepreneurs, period, they don't deal with what goes on off the runway. We believe that, at On and Off the Runway, in order for you to have a great on the runway experience, you really need to deal with the off the runway piece. So the behind the runway really just, it's an experience to educate, empower, and inspire aspiring and current entrepreneurs, to just do your business and do it well, and don't just focus on, like she said, focus on the pay and all those things. While that is great,
right,
you really want to focus more on purpose. Yes, you have a boutique. Yes, you have a business, but what type of impact are you making?
Absolutely.
So good. So this is for stylists, beauty professionals, I'm assuming, or just the average woman who wants just to improve her style?
Right. It's catered to boutique owners only because I have a boutique, but it's not limited to boutique owners. So stylists are welcome, those who are aspiring entrepreneurs, and I've even gotten communication and emails from boutique owners who are current boutique owners who are just asking for a little guidance from us. So it's for everyone who wants to build their brand behind the runway, because really taking a picture and promoting it, it's awesome, it's great, but that's 5% of this business. Business, in the Bible it says be men. That means handle your business. It's never personal, it's just business. I'm sure we've all heard that. But we want to run a business with excellence, because God has given us, He's given us this great opportunity more than ever for all these small businesses to not just be small businesses, but really social media is the new marketplace. It's a we have a large audience of people, and I believe that just training yourself and training your mind and getting a mentor, because it really helps me. And we talked about Teresa earlier. She's been my mentor behind the scenes, and she does everything in excellence. And that's what I can appreciate about Behind the Runway, because that's what we're going to be teaching people and sharing with people, our experiences, not just our experiences, the good ones, but the bad ones as well.
So good. Now maybe you have a woman who's listening, and she's always has had a dream of opening her own boutique. She, aside from coming to this conference and getting in the mix with these other entrepreneurs, how can she prepare herself for those first steps?
Jasmine, you want to answer that?
I think a lot of times, one of the things that I do is branding and graphic design and all of that. I think a lot of times people get excited about the frills and the fancy and the fun things when it comes to business without first setting the foundation. And I think that if there's a woman who wants to start a business, she first needs to do her research. After doing her research, then the next thing is she needs to legitimize, because a lot of us have businesses that we have not legitimized. We're doing things that are type of illegal. And I think the last part should be, the logos and the websites and all of that. But I always say that, building a business is like building a house. You cannot put windows and curtains and couches and all of those things without first building the foundation. So I think focusing more so on the foundation piece first, then adding the frills and the fancy.
So good, because so many women, and I'm just thinking of one lady in particular that I know has great ideas for fashion and wants to do this, but she gets overwhelmed. And I'm glad you laid that out, because some people don't know. You start first here. And because, you start thinking of, especially when you go on social, you're seeing all of this. So you're thinking, oh, my God, there's so much to do. I don't know where to start. Start building the foundation. So research on what it is, what you say, Jasmine, what it is you want to do or the customer you want to service. What would be those first couple of questions she needs to ask herself?
I think the first thing is, okay, what are you doing? What type of business are you starting? After you've done that, then who's your target audience? Who are you going to sell this to? Because, of course, you can have a boutique, but there's all types. Is it going to be for men? Is it going to be for children? Is it going to be for women? If it is going to be for women, is it going to be plus size? Is it not going to be plus size? So I think definitely what type of business, who's your target audience, and then doing your research on that audience. What do they like? How do they like to buy? How do they spend? What are their patterns? Those are the types of things that set you up for success.
Very good. Now I have to ask, and either of you can answer, if a woman steps into this realm to be a boutique owner, does she necessarily have to know how to style clothes? Is that a prerequisite?
Well, she needs to hire someone that does, yes.
Okay.
Because people are visual. There's a difference with, so let me just say this. It takes a lot of time to prepare to take a picture, right? So if I were to just put a piece of clothing, a dress on a mannequin and just post it, I don't know that it will get the same attention that it would if I put on the clothes. I'm a real woman with a real body that's the size of the average woman here in America. So that's the difference. It's do I want to, what are you selling? And I think we have to go back to things that grab our attention, and it's the packaging of something. So it's the packaging of an item. Does it have a label? Does it not? You know what I'm saying? So what catches your eye? And then turn that around to say, I need this to catch my consumer's eye, because I probably would pass through a page that has me standing in front of a refrigerator taking a picture. But have I put thought into this? Have I put, you know what I'm saying? So I think that it's a very important, style is very important for anyone who wants to own a boutique. Do you have to be the person styling? No. You can pull your cousin Nene over and say, hey, I need you to style these pieces. You can still own the boutique, but you must have someone that's able to put the pieces together. And not just put the pieces together, I get so many emails saying your style stands out because we don't see the same pieces at another boutique. But if we do see pieces that you have that another boutique may have, you style yours differently. And there's a lot of great boutiques out there that does this. But thank God we're able to have, because you have to be able to, I can give anybody my vendor list. I can say, hey, this is where I get all of my clothes, but you still have to have eyes to see how to choose them.
So good. So Joyce, who are your fashion icons?
Oh, my fashion icons. Well, I know you know the first person I'm about to say.
Yes.
Jay Bolin has taken social media and fashion by storm. No, he does not pay me to promote him. He promotes himself through his, and that goes back to excellence, right? So anytime Jay styles anyone, you can instantly see or know who styled them before he even says anything, because he leaves his signature on his work. I don't know if you consider him, he's a fashion icon in my book just because he's given so many the opportunity to open up and see beyond just a regular top or blouse or dress or pair of pants or slacks, but what can you see beyond that? And that's what creates style, right? So he's done that for a lot of stylists, a lot of boutique owners, a lot of people. So he's kind of blazed that trail for us. And then I love, of course, I love Chanel. Like I said, it goes back to my classic love of fashion. I believe if I could wear that every day, I would. But it's just a look. It's a mood. Chanel to me is a mood. Chanel, of course, I was just telling Jasmine about Tory Burch as a woman entrepreneur. I love Tory Burch just because she was able to take, like a lot of entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, something. She took a thought and she just followed through, and she was consistent. So there's so many people that I can name that I love. I love Halle Berry style. I love J-Lo style. I love Toni Braxton style. I love so many.
Well, speak to that, and you mentioned it earlier, the confidence piece for those women that may be listening. They may be into fashion or not, but give us a little tidbit on confidence and what role that plays as a woman.
Well, we being a little girl growing up without a father, and it's crazy that you would ask me that about being a little girl, because I longed for my father. I believe that your father is the first man that is supposed to show you and teach you what real love is. And so when you don't have those basics in your life as a little girl, of course, there's been my grandfather and my uncles who's played parts of being my father, but it's nothing like having your dad, because I was a daddy's girl who longed for my dad, and it kind of stripped my confidence as a woman or growing up into womanhood, because you begin to accept what you're not by whether it be relationships or words of other people. But when I went back to the basics and I went back to who my mother introduced me to, and I always say this, my mother introduced me to the best man that could change the course of my life, and that was Jesus. And I know that that's kind of like, okay, she's been a little churchy, but no, I'm really, 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 really serious. When we are down and out, or when we can't do something, or we can't pay our bills, or when we need somebody, who do we call on? Not our friends, not our family, but we call on Jesus. And being confident now, I know that it's who he says I am. Back then, as a little girl and even growing up into womanhood, I didn't know that. Because I was just like, that's what my mother said. We're supposed to be believing in Jesus. But when you really know him, and when you have a relationship with God, he teaches you that you are fearfully and you are wonderfully made. I am made exactly the way that God intended to make me. I look exactly the way that God intended for me to look. And when I own those things, and when I accept myself, and when I look in the mirror and see Joyce, I see God's workmanship, and I see that everything that God made about me was good. So it's up to me, and I always say it all the time, we insult God by not accepting who we are. I can admire another woman, I can look up to another woman, but until I can admire myself and look at me and say, okay, God, I believe what you did with me is good. Everything that you made about me is good. So I walk in that way. I talk in that way. I'm an example on the earth in God's workmanship. And so a lot of people say, well, why are you so nice to people, or why do you show God's love? Because God showed me his mercy. He showed me his love when I was disobedient and when I didn't do what he said to do, or when I went the wrong way and he told me to go right and I went left. So God's mercy has pushed me to the point where I'm thankful for everything about me. Every wrong decision I've made, every good decision I've made has been because I've gone back to the basics. And when you go back to the basics, just like I just said, he says, I'm fearfully and I'm wonderfully made. I was made in his craftsmanship. Then not accepting myself is an insult to God. So when you accept yourself fully, I believe that that's where confidence comes alive. Jasmine?
Well, if you ladies or gentlemen would like to come to the Behind the Runway mentorship experience, you can go to www.joyce-sheffield.com, and that is for the Behind the Runway mentorship experience. That is www.joyce-sheffield.com. And, of course, if you want some pretty dope pieces, you can go to www.onandofftheRunwayboutique.com.
Well, this has been the Build On Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build On Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit CornellJermaine.com.